Hello dear students, welcome to next lecture of Econ 121 Fundamentals of Agricultural Economics. In last lecture we have studied about the concept of consumer surplus. Today we have to study the new concept, that is about the demand. In that we have to study what is meant by demand, definition of the demand, then types of the demand means income demand, price demand, cross demand, derived demand, autonomous demand. Then we have to study about the what is meant by demand schedule, demand curve. Then we have to also study about the law of demand. Then what is meant by contraction and extension means what is the movement along demand curve. Then we have to also study about the increase and decrease in demand, that is shift in demand curve. And lastly we have to study about the determinants of the demand means which are the factors that affecting the demand, that is the determinants of demand. So we will start first demand. As we know, demand means desire or willingness for good. As we know, we all are the human being. We required some, we having the some willingness, or we having the some human needs. That human need and that willingness for a particular good, we want some good. We having a human wants. That willingness and that desire for such particular good is the demand. But if you think about economics, or if you think in the language of economics, only desire and willingness is not a demand. It must be that particular person must have a capability or must have ability to buy that good, means that person particular must have that much amount of money, then he can buy that good. Means in language of economics, that ability means that person must have a power to purchase that good. So apart from desire or willingness, consumer should be able to buy the good. So demand is therefore an effective desire. Okay, so thus desire and ability to buy the key components of demand, means desire and ability to purchase that good, these are the two key or important components of the demand. So according to the economist Bowden, demand means propensity of consumer to buy different quantities of particular good at different unit prices. And summarizing all these in a short, demand means it is a desire backed by willingness and ability to pay. Now specific definition of demand. So demand is defined as a schedule that shows the amount of product or service the consumers are willing and able to purchase at each price in a set of possible prices during some specified time in a specified market. So this is a definition of demand. So in the definition of demand they are saying demand is a schedule. Schedule means it is a list of the quantities and prices that we have to study in the next part about the demand schedule. What is demand schedule? So according to definition, demand is a schedule that shows amount of product, means quantities of product, it may be in a kg, quintal, whatever, or services the consumer are willing and able to purchase, means that consumer they are having a desire for that different quantities of that good and he is willing and also able to purchase in a set of possible prices, means in a different price levels during some specified time in a specified market. So that is a definition of demand. Now which are the types, or we can say the kinds of demand? Basically there are three types of demand, that is the price demand, income demand, cross demand, and another two are that is the derived demand and autonomous demand. Now we will discuss one by one. In that first one is price demand. So as itself means its name indicates, that price demand refers to various quantities of good or service that consumer would be purchased at all possible prices at a given time in a market at various hypothetical prices. Means the demand that varies with the price, that is the price demand. Means it refers to various quantities of goods or service that consumer would be purchased, means that consumer is ready to purchase that various quantities of good at all possible prices at a given time in a market or at various hypothetical prices. Hypothetical means imaginary prices, means he is ready to purchase that quantity at various prices. So in this price demand, it is assumed that in this type of demand or in this kind of demand, on the other hand, it is assumed that other things such as consumers income, his taste and prices of other related good are remains unchanged. Means that is the assumption of this price demand. Means here only price, means quantity demanded, is depend on the only on price level. On the other hand, other factors, they are considered as constant or remains unchanged. So the demand of an individual consumer is called individual demand. Means when we think about the only one consumer, single consumer or individual consumer and his demand, it is known as the individual demand. Now the aggregate demand, aggregate means overall or total demand of all the consumers combined for the commodity or service is called as industry demand. Suppose we all the consumers, we want only one good, so it will be the demand of all the consumers for that particular good is considered as the industry demand. As we know, we demand the branded only, we demand the any commodity, branded commodity, so that is the industry demand or that demand for that particular brand. Then the total demand for the product of an individual farm at various prices is known as firm demand or individual seller demand. Means suppose any particular firm, they are producing various demands, but that firm become a brand or it become a standard of their quality, then the demand, total demand for the product of and that particular individual firm at various prices is known as the firm's demand or individual seller demand. So this is about the price demand. Now next, income demand. As we have seen in the price demand, the quantity of demanded varies with change in price. Now here the income demand, it refers to the various quantities of good or service that consumer would be purchased at various level of income. Means quantity of any particular good or demand of any particular good is depend on the income of that consumer. So here we assume that prices of commodity or services remains constant. Means when we study about the income demand, we have to consider the prices of goods and services are same or constant. So as prices of related goods, taste, desire and consumers do not change. Means these are the other factors that also affecting the demand, but here while studying about the income demand, they are remains unchanged or constant. So the price demand expresses the relationship between prices and quantities, whereas means on the other hand, income demand expresses the relationship between income of that particular consumer and quantities demanded. So this is the difference between price demand and income demand. Now next type, what will be the cross demand? Next type, cross demand. So always keep in mind, cross demand means the quantities of goods and services which will be purchased with reference to change in price not of that particular good but of other related good. As we know, in the market there are some goods we purchase them in a pairs, or there are some goods which are substitute to each other. Suppose I will take the example of tea and coffee. I will take the example of tea and coffee. They are substitute or they may be complementary to each other. If the sudden change in the price of tea, if the price of tea increases tremendously, means from 100 rupees one packet to the 1000 rupees one packet, all the customers or most of customers, they will prefer the coffee. That is the cross demand. So always keep in mind, the cross demand means the quantities of good or demand of that particular good is not depend on price of that good, but the demand of that good is depend on the price of other related good. Means when there is a change in price of other related good, that leads to change in quantity demanded of a first good is known as the cross demand. So these goods means are either substitute or complementary good. A change in price of tea will affect the change in demand of coffee. Okay, so this is about the cross demand. Then last two, that is the autonomous and derived demand. These are also the types of or kinds of demand. So the goods whose demand is not linked with demand of other good supposed to have autonomous demand. Means suppose, as we know, there are some goods which demand is depend on other goods also. Demand is depend on the other good also, that is the derived good. But there are some goods whose demand is not depend on demand of other good, is known as the autonomous good. So consumer goods are the examples of autonomous. Consumer good means food items or daily use some goods, they are the consumer good. They are the example are the autonomous good. Means their demand is not depend on the demand of other good. So those goods which have a demanded for their own sake have a autonomous demand. Means those goods who are utilized singly, individually, or they are used individually, singly, not in a pair, they are the autonomous goods or they are the autonomous demand goods. Now next or last type of kind of demand, that is the derived demand. So there are certain goods or there are some goods, their demand is related with the demand of other good, they are known as the derived demand. So example, fertilizer, pesticide. As we know, now sowing season is there, kharif season. As we demand of seed increases, demand of fertilizer, demand of insecticide, demand of pesticide, it will also increases because they are related good. If we require the seed, we will require the fertilizer, we will require the insecticide. So demand of seed is related with the demand of fertilizer, insecticide, pesticide. That is various agricultural inputs. That is a derived demand. Okay, so the goods that are required to produce other good having the derived demand, means those goods which are used to produce another good, they are having the derived demand. So this is all about the types or kinds of demand. Now next is demand schedule. Next is demand schedule. As we have learned in the definition, demand schedule. Okay, so now here the various quantities of goods that a consumer would be willing to purchase at all possible prices in a given market at a given point of time, other things being equal, is called individual demand, as we have seen the definition also. Then individual demand schedule is just or merely a list of prices. What is individual demand schedule? It is just merely or just list of prices together with quantities that will be purchased by consumer, and it is a pairing of quantity and price relationship. Means individual demand schedule shows that the list of prices and quantity demanded. Here we have taken one imaginary example. In that example, on the one side there are prices, that is rupees in kg, 20, 16, 12, 8, 4, 2, and on the other side that quantity demanded per week by any family in a kg. Suppose when the price is 20, the quantity demanded is very less, that is 0.25. When price become 16, means it is decreases or price falls down from 20 to 16, the quantity increases from 0.25 to 0.50. Then again price falls down from 16 to 12, quantity also increases from 0.50 to 0.75. At the price 8 rupees per kg, quantity increases up to the 1 kg per week. Then when price become 4, again quantity increases, that is 1.24, 25, and last when price become very less, that is 2 rupees per kg, quantity increases up to the 1.50. Means as a fall in a price, quantity demanded increases. That is a law of demand, and it is shown by the demand schedule. Now if we plot this price and quantity on a graph, we will get the demand curve here. So at rupees 20, the consumer will purchase the 0.25 kg. So as the price decreases, the quantity demanded will increase. So as the price of commodity decreases, the quantity demanded will increase. Now when we plot that quantities and price on the graph, we will get the demand curve. So demand curve is nothing but it is just diagrammatic or graphical representation of demand schedule. Means when we plot all the prices and quantity demanded on a graph, we get the demand curve. So demand curve which having the downward slope, you can see in the diagram, DD is the demand curve. Okay, so question may be asked, demand curve having dash dash slope. So always keep in mind, always demand curve having the downward slope, and always keep in mind law of demand. Means as the price decreases, quantity demanded will increases. Now next, law of demand. Next topic is law of demand. As we have seen in demand schedule, so the law or law of demand says that demand varies inversely. Inversely means oppositely. Demand varies inversely with the price when other things being equal. Means here also we have to assume that other things are equal or other things are constant, such as income of the consumer and other factors, prices of other good and other factor. So they are constant or remains unchanged. But as the price decreases, quantity demanded will increases. So the law of demand explains the functional relationship between quantity demanded for a commodity and its unit price. Means this law of demand, it expresses the functional relationship between the price of that commodity, per unit price of that commodity, and quantity demanded in a different units. If the price rises, or if the increase in the prices, demand contracts or quantity demanded decreases, and on the other hand, if the price falls, demand extends, or if the price falls, demand quantity demanded for that particular commodity increases. It is vice versa. Means if price decreases, quantity demanded will increase. If price increases, quantity demanded will decrease. Okay, so in other words, demand increases with fall in prices and demand decreases with rise in prices or increase in prices. So the tendency of consumer is to buy more quantity of commodity at a lower price than what he buys at higher price. Means nobody want to purchase any commodity at a higher price. Always all the consumers, we having a tendency of purchasing the good at minimum price, or purchasing, we always want to purchase any good at a lower price. That is the human tendency. Now, at any given time, demand for a commodity or service at a prevailing price is a greater than it would be at higher price, and less than it would be at a lower price. So this is law of demand. Just simply we have to keep in mind what is the relationship between quantity demanded and price. That is the inverse relationship or opposite relationship between in the law of demand. Now, exceptions of law of demand. Now, it is not fixed, or we cannot consider the law of demand will be applicable for each and every commodity. So for law of demand also there are some expectations of law of demand. So expectation means exceptions of law of demand. Exceptions means the law of demand is not applicable for some goods. So that is, law of demand is not applicable for the first prestigious good, means those goods which are considered as the prestige status. Okay, so on such good the law of demand is not applicable, because while purchasing such good, that consumer will not think about the prices. So example here, diamond. For the diamond, law of demand is not applicable. Okay, the next, for the some given paradox or some given good or inferior good. So this given paradox or given good, it is related to the very less price goods, or it is related to the necessities of life which are requirement of human being for living. So this given paradox, which was observed by or which was studied by Robert Giffen in the 19th century. So this phenomenon says that rise in a price is followed by extension of demand, means increase in the demand, and while fall in price is followed by reduction in demand for the good. Means there are certain goods, as the price increases their demand also increases, as the price decreases their demand also decreases, and it is observed by Robert Giffen in 19th century. Means he observed the prices of bread. He observed the prices of bread. So in the 19th century, that when the prices of bread increases, the low paid workers, means laborers in the some industries in the Britain, they spend more money on the bread, because it was their staple food. It was their staple food. But on the other hand, other side, they spend on a meat. They substituted bread for meat, means they have a substitute, either purchase the bread or meat. But when the price of bread increases, they paid more money on the bread, because it is their staple food, irrespective of purchasing the meat. So this means that the demand for bread increases when its price increases, which is exception to the law of demand. So these are the two exceptions. Another are there likewise high price commodities, as we have given the example of prestigious good. Similarly, some high price commodities, when the consumer feel that, or consumer thinks that those products which having a higher price, which are the superior, or which are purchased at higher price, they are the indicators of status. So they do not consider, or they do not think about their prices. So they do not mind buy the more at higher prices or lower prices. It is regarded the high price commodities. I will say very good example about the branded clothes, branded commodities. When we have to, there are some group of customers, they always use some branded commodities, so they will do not think about their prices. Okay, that is the exception for the law of demand. Then fear of shortage. Very good example I will give regarding this fear of shortage. We all have suffered during the COVID-19, during the lockdown. We all having the fear of shortage. Either the some shops will open or not. We have a fear of shortage. In that fear, we all have purchased the all the essential commodities or consumer goods at very high prices. That is also exception for law of demand. Means even prices are high, then also we are purchasing the that good in more quantities. That is a exception. So if the existing price is higher and it is expected to increase in a future, another. Now I will give the example of onion. We know that just in the first week of any month, suppose in the first week of August, the prices of onion started increasing. So in fear of shortage, we will purchase that onion. We will hope that in a future also price will increase from 50 to it. There is chances to go that price from 50 to 100 also. In that fear, we purchase the onions at higher price also. That is a exception for law of demand. Then change in expectations. So when prices are expected to continue rising, in order to avoid paying more in a future, people buy more even though prices are risen. Same example of onion. As we know, just in the first week of any month or in any week, if the prices started rising or if the prices of any good started rising, we think that so the price will rise in a future, so we purchase that commodity at higher price also. It is also exception for law of demand. Then trade cycles means in the economy there are cycles, either recession, recovery. These are the trade cycle, crisis. So in the times of general economic prosperity, people buy more even at higher prices, and because of people income has been increased. Opposite in general depression situation means in a trade cycle, suppose this is a period of prosperity. Prosperity means the growth period of any country, and the purchasing power of that citizens is increased because of growth, economic growth of that particular country. So in that situation, customers don't think about the prices, or they purchase their goods at higher prices also. Opposite to that, in the prosperity or in the growth period, I will give you the example of Dubai. Even the prices are high, then also the customers, they are purchasing the good because their income level is very high. And in case of opposite to that, in case of general depression means there are some underdeveloped countries, there are some poor countries. The situation is opposite. That is the inner trade cycles or situation of economy. The exception of law, the law of demand is not applicable. So this is about the exception of law. Now next topic, which are most important as concerned to your examination point of view. Now we have to understand what is mean by contraction of demand, what is mean by extension of demand, what is mean by increase in demand, and what is mean by decrease in demand. That is most important part, because there are chances of asking the question on for objective type of questions. Okay, now so movement along demand curve. As we have seen, demand curve is downward sloping, and demand curve indicates the prices, relationship of prices with quantities. Here is the demand curve. We can see that it shows the relationship of prices and quantity demanded. Now what will happen if there is change in prices from P to the P1, means if the price falls, the quantity demanded will increase from Q to the Q1. That is the movement along the demand curve, means movement from point A to the point B, and it shows the contraction and extension of demand. Now we will discuss how it shows the extension and contraction of demand. Now it refers to the means movement along the demand curve or contraction and extension of demand. It refers to the change in quantity demanded due to change in price. Always keep in mind the contraction and extension of demand is happens only because of change in prices. Only because of change in prices. So it can be either extension or contraction. Now extension of demand means buying more quantity of a commodity at lower price. What is extension? Buying more quantity of a commodity at lower price. Here you can see the first price or original price is P and price falls from the point of P to the point of P1. So the price is decreases, but the quantity increases from point of Q to the Q1. That is the extension of demand. That is the extension of demand means you are purchasing more quantity at a lower price. That is the extension of demand. Okay, so suppose a consumer A, when the price of tomato fall from 20 to the 16, we have taken the example in this, suppose here we have taken the example of 2016. As the price falls, the quantity demanded increases. That is the extension of demand means at a lower price that consumer is getting more quantity of that particular good. That is the extension of demand. It is a case of extension of demand. So for the consumer A, when the price of good increase from 12 to 16, the quantity demanded will decrease from 0.75 to 0.50. That is the contraction. So opposite to that, contraction. The contraction of demand indicates buying a less at a higher price. What is contraction of demand? Buying a less quantity at a higher price. Here you can see, suppose when a price increase from 12 to the 16, quantity demanded will decrease from 0.75 to 0.50. Here you can see, if price decrease, sorry, okay, if price increase from 12 to 16, quantity demanded will decrease from 0.75 to 50. So it is a case of contraction of demand. Now it terms the extension and contraction refers to the movement along the same demand curve. So the downward movement from the point A to the B is the extension, while upward movement from point B to the A is the contraction. Here clearly you can see, suppose original price is 20 and decreased price is 16. Okay, and quantity Q is original and quantity Q1 is change in quantity. Now extension and contraction of demand represent the change in quantity demanded because of price only. So this is a purely price resulted the phenomenon demand change for commodity, while other factors being remains unchanged or fixed. Now here you can understand, suppose price falls from 20 to 16, means from point P to the P1. So there is downward movement in the demand curve, that is from point A to the point B. That is a contraction of demand. That is the extension of demand, means you are getting higher quantity of commodity at a lower price. That is the extension of demand. And when you will get lower commodity at higher price, that is the contraction of demand. That is the upward movement from B to the A. So this is about the contraction and extension of demand. Now another topic, that is about the shift in demand curve. So always keep in mind, extension and contraction, it happens only because of the change in price. So on the other hand, the increase or decrease or shift in demand curve, it happens because of change in the values of other variables which are influencing the demand. So it can be increase in demand or decrease in demand. So increase and decrease in demand, it causes shift in demand curve. Shift in demand curve. Here you can see original demand curve is DD. If there is a shift to the right side, that is the D1, that is the increase in demand. If there is shift to the left side, that is the D2, that is the decrease in demand. Now, so as against extension and contraction of demand, increase and decrease in demand result in the shifting of demand curve. So increase in demand means more demand at a same price or same demand at higher price. What is increase in demand? Increase in demand means more demand at same price. Here you can say the price level is same. Price level is same. If you are getting a more demand at a same price, that is a, if you are getting more quantity of that good at a same price, means at a price P, that is a increase in demand. Or if you are getting a same demand, if you are getting a same quantity at a higher price, same quantity at a higher price, that is also increase in demand. Okay. Now on the other hand, decrease in demand means less demand at same price or same demand at lower price. What is decrease in demand? You can observe the demand curve D2, D2, D2. So here the decrease in quantity demanded at a same price, decrease in quantity demanded at a same price or same quantity at a lower price, or same quantity at lower price, that is decrease in demand. So when there is increase in demand, the demand curve shift to right side. On if there is decrease in demand, demand curve shift to left side. So DID is the new demand curve, represent the increasing demand. DID or D1 I will say, that is the new demand curve. Here clearly you can observe, that is increase in demand means shift of original demand curve to the right side. Decrease in demand means shift of original demand curve to the left side, that is a decrease in demand. Okay, always keep in mind, shift in demand curve or increase or decrease in demand curve, it happens only because of change in quantity or change in other factors. Change in other factors such as income of the income of the consumer, change in prices of other related good, means change in prices of substitute, change in prices of complementary good, or some other factor that affects the demand. Okay. Now here you can observe the diagram. At OP price, quantity demanded is OQ, that is the original. Okay, original price and original quantity means P and Q. So increase in demand indicates the purchase of same quantity of OQ at a higher price OP. Okay, or purchase of OQ1 quantity at a same price OP, that is the increase in demand, means demand curve shift to the right side. So the decrease in demand indicated by the shift of the demand curve to the left downwards to the initial demand curve or original demand curve. So D2 it indicates the decrease in demand, and D1 indicates the increase in demand. So decrease in demand indicates purchase of the same quantity of OQ at a lower price of OP, or purchase of OQ quantity, OQ2 quantity at a same price. So increase and decrease in demand indicates or denotes change in demand or change in quantity demanded. So this is about the extension and contraction, increase and decrease in demand, which is most important. But always keep in mind, extension and contraction means movement along demand curve that happens because of change in price. On the other hand, shift in demand curve means increase and decrease in demand that happens because of change in other factors of demand. Okay. Now, determinants of demand or the factors affecting demand, or question may be asked, which are the factors that affecting the shift factors, why there is shift in demand curve, or shift factors or determinants of demand or factors affecting demand. So first, taste and preferences. So these are influenced by means taste of consumer, preferences of consumer. They are influenced by the fashion, recent trends, population changes, advertisement, custom, habits, popularity and season. Okay, because the demand of particular commodity it changes because of customer taste changes, customer preferences changes, and most of customers preferences or taste they are changed because of advertisement, because of fashion, because of trend. So this is the first factor or first determinant of demand. Second, income. Obviously, as the income changes, your taste also will change, your preferences will change, your quantity demanded will change. So change income of consumer leads to shift in demand curve. As the income increases, your there will be the increase in demand for other goods. So the portion of income spent on food or other necessaries decreases with increase in income level of the consumers. Okay. The next, price of other related good. Next determinant is price of other related goods. So the change in price of one good, as we have seen in the derived demand. Okay, so that same factor is here, price of other related goods. It also affect change in quantity of particular, the change in quantity of demand of particular good. It also affect by the price of other related good. As we have seen in the shift in demand curve, it is because of prices of other related good also, or it is because of other factors also. So the change in price of one good influences the consumption of other good. As I have earlier given you the example of tea and coffee, as the prices of tea increases, the consumer choice will changes, consumer preference will changes, they will move towards the coffee. Okay, so depending upon the relationship between the goods, if two commodities are supposed to be substitute, such as meat and chicken, tea and coffee, the rise in price of one good result in the increase in demand for other good. Okay, now there are certain goods which need to be used together, means complementary good. Example, bread and jam, ghee and butter, sorry, bread and butter. Okay, so if price of one increases, the other also increases, that is the complementary, which are called as complementary. So increase in price of one good brings down the demand for other good, or a rise in price of bread reduces the demand for butter. Because if price increases, the consumer will purchase the less butter. If they purchase less bread, they will also purchase the less amount of butter, so it will hamper the demand for butter also. So that is about the next determinant. Then about the habits, as a habit changes, your demand for particular commodity also changes. For example, they have given the example of smokers in a region influence the demand for tobacco and its related products. Okay, there are some bad habits, because of them there is change in quantity demanded of particular goods. Then region, in a high altitude region, demand for high altitude regions, demand for wine, woolen clothing, meat, etc. would be persistent. Means high altitude regions means if the regions which having the very low temperature, in that region the demand for wine to keep their body warm, they drink the wine, they wear the woolen cloths, they eat the meat. So in such places or in such regions the demand for such good will be persistent or same. So region also matter regarding the demand. Now season, demand for eggs decreases in summer and it increases in winter season. So always keep in mind season also affect the demand of any good. Change in population, as we know, if population increases, demand for good also increases, it also affect the demand. Then change in wealth distribution, wealth distribution is also most important factor. So if the wealth is evenly distributed or equally distributed, the demand for necessary and comfort will increase while the demand for luxuries will fall down. Okay, if the wealth of all the people will be same, obviously there will be the demand for necessary and comforts will increase and demand for luxuries will fall down. So change in wealth distribution, it also affect the demand of particular good. The next important factor is technical progress. So innovations, some research brings the new product in the market which causes the decrease in demand of old product. As we know, always we want the new thing, so demand for old thing decreases because of innovations, because of research activities. Okay, so that technical progress is also the determinant or which also affect the demand of any particular good. And last, discovery of cheap substitutes means because of innovation, because of research, because of technical progress, we found the new products which having the very less price or which having the same quality, that is the discovery of cheap substitute. So it will decrease the demand of any product. Suppose example, because of vegetable ghee, demand of pure ghee decrease. Okay, so these are the determinants of demand or factors affecting demand. So for this course, you can refer the book Agricultural Economics by Subba Reddy, P. Raghuram, okay, and another book that is Elementary Economic Theory by Dewett and J.D. Varma. Thank you.